Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wandering Tavern. Today we are doing an episode one breakdown of Andor. I know this has been out for like 2 weeks, but um, we were slow on the uptake. We also have a She-Hulk reaction in the works. We did react to the first episode of that, and
It was
that
horrible.
yes, it was. It was bad, and that should hopefully be up soon. And then that is it. So shall we begin?
Yes,
Do you want to do just overall thoughts?
I thought. I mean, as it on its own as an episode, I thought it was just It was okay. As a first episode for a series, I thought it left a lot to be desired.
I am of an opposing opinion. I think this episode was good on its own, and has a lot left a lot of room for more. I guess is what I'm thinking of. There was a lot of groundwork set up for potential plot threads they could go down, character arcs set up, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
So
I'm under the belief that the first episode of a show needs to have something exciting happen to it or happen in it in order for the audience to actually be hooked on it.
so let's do what so well, let's go through I guess some of the scenes in the episode. I do have it pulled up here. We're not gonna do react to the whole thing, but so I want to talk about this scene in the bar. So basically, this show in like within its first 5 minutes is proof that somewhere in Disney can write a competent episode or a competent scene. You know, and it's very when comparing this to She-Hulk, which is arguably its contemporary, he it's just light years ahead, I would say. Because not only have we had the establishment of the world, we've had world building, we've had time to establish our setting, but in this scene we learn like we get character motivation and we're introduced to an antagonist as well as another obstacle for as well as an obstacle, or at least a character. So we get character motivation. um Cliche as these two are as like the villains of the piece, I guess. Um like, oh, two guys in a bar followed him and tried to mug him. Like that it did way better to sort of establish that than She-Hulk did, because effectively the reason they get pissy with him is cuz he gets served before them. Like at least that is a motivation under the influence of alcohol that makes sense.
Yeah, I can appreciate them actually trying to make Cassian more like an anti-hero.
Mhm.
Like he's not exactly he's I mean he has arguably good intentions, but he's not like a pure of heart person.
I would argue this episode goes very much out of its way to show us that he's not a very good person from the outset.
And for whatever reason they couldn't do this to Boba Fett.
Oh, I haven't even I have not watched Book of Boba Fett. I was like, no.
Yeah, nor have I, but I don't hear anything good about it.
Yeah, I'm
I
not
guess
shocked.
they want to. I guess they're trying to turn him into make him more heroic, despite the fact he's a bounty hunter.
He's a bounty hunter, and in his youth attempted the assassination of a Jedi.
Mhm.
Like, I know that probably wouldn't be frowned upon in the era where she's like famous for, but still, well, dude went after Mace Windu. At least in the Clone Wars series, dude went after Mace Windu, like one of the most powerful Force users in the entire Jedi Council. Dude successfully he attempts to kill him, destroys destroys a Republic cruiser, and then gets the chance to actually kill him. Like, Boba Fett was a bad person, or at least one morally like bankrupt enough that he would be willing to do just whatever the hell he wanted.
Hmm.
Also, the original trilogy implies that he disintegrates people on a regular enough basis that Darth Vader himself felt it worth mentioning that he couldn't do that.
Yeah, it's interesting. My guess is that the writers are split into different groups. So, like, the guys behind Boba Fett were probably trying to do a more kid appeal kind of series, while Andor is meant to be more geared towards an older audience.
Hmm.
I
So we
mean,
have
yes,
our open. Oh,
because
go ahead.
heaven forbid you have a kid show where the protagonist is morally gray. It's not like
Hmm.
LT gray was a thing.
Yeah. All right. So our opening scene occurs. We figure out Andor is Cassie. That Cass is looking for his sister, and that she potentially was here. Like, the idea that this may be in fact an entirely false lead, it seems like he's not super surprised at that. And then we have this, and I actually want to show this one because it's not that long. All right. So this. Oh, damn it, Disney Plus.
I don't need any surprises. Oh, the pocket.
Oh god, it's gonna restart every time now, isn't it?
Oh, the pocket. Tell me now. Tell me what to do.
Okay. So this is probably one of the worst scenes in this episode, which is saying a lot. In that it doesn't really make sense. And we'll see why in a second.
Let's hear it, boss. Get up. Get him up. Get him up. Move. He's not breathing.
Okay. So I think while we were watching this, I pointed this out, but how does Corpse here die? Like, even rewatching this scene, this is the third time I've rewatched the scene. I cannot figure out for the life of me how this man is dead. He gets headbutt. He's out of the scene for the rest of it. Dude, dead man walking here, fights with Cass over the gun. And it gets fired off 3 times. We see none of the shots hit anyone else. And yet corpse is here, and Dead Man Walking's response to that is basically like, "Oh, he fell. We go in together. We'll tell him he just fell."
Yeah, my guess is that there was a scene that got cut out in editing.
I mean, yeah, I can see that, but if it's showing, I guess the logic would be like, oh, we can just we don't have to show him doing that, but it doesn't make sense for only Cassian's headbutt to have killed him. So it sort of throws like the entire conflict. This is supposed to be the inciting incident. Like, this is what I guess starts the series off, or what will eventually the incident that will eventually push Cassian to be a spy for the Rebel Alliance is his killing of these two guys on this planet. And I have to question, like, why would you cut a part of this fight scene out if this is your inciting incident? I'm not standing on anything. I have a hair or scrunchie under my foot. That's what he was after. So, Dead Man Walking and Corpse are like supposed to be what pushes Cassian to basically run to the Rebel Alliance so they can protect him and he becomes a spy for them. It is sort of vital that we see him intentionally kill both of them. Like, we get to see him kill Dead Man Walking here, which is arguably just a ripoff of his first scene in Rogue One. Like, I remember in Rogue One, he meets a contact. They're about to be discovered, and he just straight up kills him. So it's sort of a straight rip from that, but at the same time, I can let it go. Well, but if we're cutting things out, there's a couple of scenes, namely like this opening walking sequence for him that could have been cut by a little bit, and then this, not that. This scene where we have the droid wander for about a minute, that could have been like this bit, like with the dog things, that could have been cut, and we could have seen Corpse die.
Yes, but then you get to miss out on dogs. Then you get to miss out on the dogs pissing on him because he looks like a fire hydrant.
True. One thing I will say about both the examples I've mentioned with the opening walking scene and with the droid scene is I like them because they allow they allow the previous scene to sort of sink in. They allow us to process what is happening instead of, which is what I think a lot of Star Wars shows, and it's Marvel, Star Wars, even modern Disney movies. Encanto really has this problem, I think, thinking on it, is that there's no breathing room. Like, there's no time for you to breathe and sort of examine what's happened previously. Whereas, at least here, we are given two bufferings between, you know, like we're given a lot of room to process what the heck just happened. Like, oh my gosh, what are the consequences? What's going? Is he going to be found out? Is there police present? Is this were these like? Is he already working for the Rebel Alliance? Like, were these supposed to be his targets? Did he just fuck something up? Up that sort of thing. So we get some moments to process that. Right. And then we have this scene, which I'm pretty sure was in the trailer, right?
He's running! Running!
Like this
Yeah,
scene with the ship coming down.
yeah. I have questions about this since apparently, so we see that Cassian used to be part of, I guess, a group of tribal people,
I don't
but
even think it's tribal people. I think it's children.
uh,
Like, cause this one right here, I think she's the oldest person we see.
right. So I guess a bunch of children in a Lord of the Flies kind of setting.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering because I remember in Rogue One, Cassian told Jin that he's been fighting he's been fighting for the rebellion since he was 6. But when we see these flashbacks, he looks more like 10 or 11.
Yeah, I have questions about that too, but I think that who knows, this may be just like a like it may be a shipwreck camp or something, or they may be retconning it
Oh, now why would they do that?
because
They
it's kind of
they
it's
purged the entire EU so they could so they could tell one consistent story.
kind.
Come on.
I mean, if that was true, well, like a lot of hmm. Well, I guess the Rise of Skywalker is non-canon then, because it basically rewrites the Last Jedi. So I would hope that things like why are they here? Why are they on this island? Like why are they in this jungle? Well, seemingly living some sort of tribal existence instead of on like in like even a small village or city like Anakin's on Tatooine. Maybe they're shipwrecked. Maybe this is out of the way, but it's a mid-rim planet, so questions abound as to why it's like this, but all of them can be answered by scenes that we experience later on. Like the only thing I could think of that would make me not like this whole like, oh, he was in part of a uncontacted tribe, shipwreck caused discovery, Empire came in and oppressed everyone. And the only thing that would make me not really like that is if they did that and then just dropped it. Like, oh, we're not going to explain how the hell they got there. We're not going to explain why there's only like teenagers and children there. Or, it is what it is, kind of thing. And so far, we've only watched the first episode of this, so, well, so hopefully those questions get answered. But as for these scenes, I'm of two minds about them. And I think I explained this to you, Caesar, while we were watching. So there's no subtitles for the language they're speaking, which is, on the one hand, somewhat annoying. On the other hand, really, really interesting. It's an interesting choice from like a scene directing perspective.
It's interpretive.
Yeah, in that we we the audience have to sort of put together what's going on, which means you have to be paying attention. but um you have to be paying attention, but it also leaves quite a bit of context out on in terms of like what's sort of going on. And like the actions of the one girl who is we just saw her like screaming and waving her arms like they want the ship to come their way is implies at least that they have been shipwrecked and
Oh,
have been out of
I'm.
contact or have no way to contact people.
Oh, I must have missed that.
Uh, hold on. Yeah. Like right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it implies that they are shipwrecked and they need someone to come rescue them. But then the older girl silences her, and we're not sure why. So we're sort of stuck with if we're sort of stuck in limbo. Like, okay, but why did you stop her from waving the ship down if y'all need to be rescued? There's another scene later on in the episode that takes place in the same area, like right before they're gonna go and see what the ship is. This is where Cassian tries to. We see that all the people are painting themselves with sort of tribal markings.
Yeah, like war paint.
Yes, like war paint, and Cassian reaches down to try and do it himself, and one of the other boys slaps him away and scolds him. And then the oldest girl is like, "You says something," and he's allowed to continue. The issue again is that while yes, we can sort of get the implication that she doesn't necessarily want that, at least for the boy doesn't want him to come along. The reason why is sort of up in the air. Like, why is he being scolded? Why is she letting him go? Well, that sort of thing. And then, okay, this is one of the weirder shots in the episode. It's this wall of gloves. Like, I guess the implication here is that they're miners or something, and they wear the gloves to go mine. But it's weird that they just all hang outside.
Yeah, easy for them to get stolen.
Yeah.
You'd think they'd be in a locker.
Mm-hmm. So this is one of the weirder things that doesn't really make sense, but it looks.
But look at the pretty gloves.
Yeah, it's not a terrible shot. Like, it looks kind of cool, but it sort of doesn't make sense when you start to think about it. And I hope that's not a consistent theme throughout the Star Wars, throughout this show. Like, oh, it's pretty but pointless.
I mean, that's par for the course with Disney Star Wars.
Yeah. So we have basically most of the episode is spent with Cassian running around this town he's in. Um telling people like first establishing an alibi with this guy. There. Who first establishing an alibi with this guy and then trying to basically get smuggled off planet. And so there's a lot of so I think this is where you and I start to diverge in terms of episode quality. I think the episode is really good, especially as it starts, because I think the goal of this episode is to introduce our characters and sort of ramp up the tension of and sort of introduce the conflict we will build to. So it's very slow, and I appreciate that. Whereas a lot of shows will just go boom, 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 boom. This show has taken it from a breakneck speed to a very slow and deliberate pace. So we have Cassian establishing an alibi, and then we meet Bix, who is, I guess, our strong, independent woman who don't need no man kind of thing. The implication is she's the owner of this salvage business. And her boyfriend works for her. But she's also got some sort of contact with a smuggler that can get things off world. So Cassian comes to her, and they actually have a very, very well written character interaction with basically both of them, with her getting pissed that he kept an item from her, and him basically telling her, "Yeah, I know. Yeah, I kept it from you. I know you've been cheating me. Let's move on. Let's talk. We're talking business here." And I really, really like the scene because it's very well played. It's played very, very well. And eventually she goes and contacts her smuggler, the smuggler that can get things off planet, and who apparently wants to meet Cassian. Why this is, I guess we'll figure it out. I guess we'll find out. Oh, and I guess that's really the sort of baseline of of this episode is like we will find out later, which I'm not opposed to. Especially in a series that can run, 10 or 12 episodes and each one being 44 minutes long. That's a lot to we could do a lot with that time. And then we get the final flashback of Cassian leaving the tribe. And the episode ends with Cassian leaving the tribe to go and see this ship. So that is one of our plots. We have two. Our second plot involves I actually don't remember this guy's name. Do you?
Neither do I. I just
Okay.
know he's like a an inspector.
Yes. So I'm going to call him shipping fodder.
I call him Discount Michael Fassbender.
So shipping fodder here is basically has in one night figured out two men were murdered, and written up the report to give to his superior. His superior in this scene, his superior is basically like, yeah, we're not going to do anything. You're going to write up an accident report about this. And we are going to move on.
Yep.
Um,
It would
And,
make us look bad.
and shipping fodder can't seem to understand this. And the an old man here gives actually very, very concise reasons as to why this all needs to be swept under the rug. That because these two officers, and they were security officers for this corporate planet, for this corporation, were at a brothel that they aren't supposed to have, that is illegal, an illegal brothel, well, well above their pay grade, a, an illegal brothel, well, an illegal brothel that was well above their pay grade, which implies that they're some sort that they are not, you know, the most clean of individuals, and drinking an alcohol, or presumably an alcohol, that this place isn't supposed to sell. So the and his and basically chief here says like, yeah, this is shitty timing, because do I have to go and talk to the Imperials about this, and I need to tell them like, no, our crime rates are within acceptable parameters, or within acceptable um deviations, because they don't because for whatever because this corporation doesn't want the Empire looking too closely, because it causes all sorts of problems for the people above them. And this is another one of those moments where I'm just like, that it doesn't make sense for this guy, for shipping fodder here, to not really understand this,
Yeah.
because
He continues to try to look into it.
yeah, he continues to try to look into it, which would be good if he was sort of a new recruit.
Yeah, he
But
seems to. I guess he has a better work ethic. I guess both imply that he's much more honorable than his superior.
it implies he's honorable, but now he just looks stupid. He looks stupid. He looks dumb as fuck for the rest of the episode. Because he's relatively high ranking. He's a detective inspector, I think. Like, he's very high ranking. He has he has he has significant enough power that he basically intimidates one of the people to do work, to investigate an anomaly. Like, he basically tells someone like, if it's too much for you, I'll have someone else do it and you'll be fired. So he obviously has enough power within the organization to do that. And then he also has enough power to later command like an entire or an entire planet's frequencies to be flooded with basically what is effectively an APB. So he's obviously risen through the ranks. And the idea that he wouldn't have at some point encountered this sort of cover up or this sort of corruption as a corporate police officer, I have a hard time buying that.
Yeah, my guess is that this guy is going to be the main antagonist for the season.
I mean, duh. That's why do you think I called him shipping fodder?
So I'm guessing that he's eventually going to expose expose all the shady things his corporation does to the Empire, and he'll get a promotion out of it.
Um, that, or he'll figure out his supposedly loyal corporation is funding the Rebel Alliance. Could you imagine what, like, that would be an interesting move to have the chief not really want to cover everything up, because not really want to still that push this cover up, not necessarily because it looks bad to the Imperials, but if the Imperials start looking, they're gonna find that this place is connected with the Rebel Alliance, and we have like ships and shit moving through here that are smuggling things off planet to rebel bases. That would be an interesting twist. But basically, shipping fodder's here whole plot is that he was told to screw off this investigation. Don't look into it. Write up an accident report and move on. And he doesn't. So I want to figure out what this guy's name is. It's got to be mentioned, right? Hold on.
Okay, I think his name is Cyril Karn.
Yeah, I think it is too. Yeah. It's Cyril Karn. Yeah. So shipping fodder here.
We'll just keep calling him shipping fodder.
I mean, that's what he is. Shipping fodder here is supposed to be like the honorable two men are dead and that deserves to be investigated kind of guy, but couched in the greater context, it's sort of weird that he would be pushing this hard. Presumably, I think the implication with the sort of title breaks and title cards, like with the location, is that the corporation owns at least a chunk of this planet. So it's weird that he's so gung ho for this instead of being just, oh well, it's an accident report. Like, oh well, 2 men are dead. But I think that covers most of the scenes. Oh. This scene right here is. I said earlier at the beginning that this episode goes out of its way to show that Cass is is not that good a person. And this scene goes sort of in a way to expand on that. Cassian is approached by this man. And this man is called Nietzsche or Nushi, something like that. Nucci, whatever. But he basically approaches Cassian and is like, "Yo, you owe me money. You owe me money, and you owe this guy money, and I want my money back." And Cassian's basically like, "It's in play. Like, oh, it very obviously don't have it, and lost it all, kind of thing." And then it's in the alibi establishing scene too, where the dude says, like, as he's walking away, he's like, "I'm not giving you money either." So the implication throughout this episode is that Cassian is not a good person. He borrows money without returning it. He sort of makes deals and screws people over without really caring. So I think the episode does a very, very good job of establishing Cassian as a less than righteous individual. He also commits cold-blooded murder within the first 10 minutes, so less than righteous. I would say it arguably goes a long way to establishing that Cassian is sympathetic. Not likable necessarily, but sympathetic. We can say a lot for the characters, though, actually, in all honesty. For our two mains, at the very least, to establish the two mains as these sort of within these two dichotomies, we have the very prim, proper, hardworking, upper crust villain, and the sort of dirty, rundown, not necessarily a good guy hero. I think that's it's very good that they've established that dynamic early on, because hopefully, and I have my fingers crossed, we will see them break it. We'll see them break. We'll see the sort of paragon of that is our villain in shipping fodder sort of break down and become more and more hopeless at how the depth that the corporate corruption and the depth and obstacles that corporate corruption places in his way. He becoming steadily more downtrodden. That would be an interesting character arc for him. And then Andor is obviously going to sort of become, we can hope, become more and more virtuous and only virtuous and doing things for the good of people kind of thing. So, what about you, Caesar? Do you have anything?
No, I got nothing.
Yeah. All right, so we can move on to this last thing I want to talk about. Any predictions so far? Any predictions? What do you think? Do you think, based on what happened in this episode, what do you think's gonna happen next? Or what do you think will happen in the next 2 or 3 episodes?
Well, let's see. I think you left out the fact that Cassian is trying to find his younger sister. So I'm guessing
I
that
thought I said that.
I don't remember. So anyway, while Cassian and the rest of the search party are away from the village, somebody's going to a group of people are going to raid the village and abduct everybody there. So that sets off the whole thing about Cassian losing his sister.
Any others?
Well, obviously K2SO will eventually show up and he'll get reprogrammed.
True.
Other than that, that's it.
I think your prediction is probably more accurate. What I would hope is that I think your prediction about the village getting raided while they're gone is probably the more accurate one. What would be probably worse though is if it is an Imperial like ship they're about to go check out. I think it would be interesting to have him to have the like all his friends all the people that he went with either captured or killed, and then have him sell basically all of them out just so they have a chance at survival. Like I think that would be very, very interesting
We'll
to
just
have
have to
him.
see.
Yeah. And then I definitely think that because of his insistence to get off planet and that pushing Bix, our strong independent woman, to um to contact the guy early, he it's going to in just a string of bad luck, which is really just the plot, have them get found out and Cassian's gonna have to and we're gonna have like an early confrontation between the two, between shipping fodder and Cassian, but not one that's direct. They're gonna miss each other or see each other or at a distance, that sort of thing.
All right.
So those are my predictions. I think next episode we're probably gonna get the excitement that you were looking for, or Caesar.
Hmm.
Because I think somehow he has to get caught and forced off planet, right?
Yeah, presumably.
Yeah. So, well, I think we'll see the excitement you were wanting in this episode next episode. And we will see, I guess, if mine and Caesar's predictions keep come true in any way.
All right. Until next time, then.
Yep. Until next time, thank you all so much for watching. And please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It does help us out a lot. But we don't know when the She-Hulk video will be out, but it will be out. And then that is it. So thank you all so much for watching. Y'all have a wonderful evening.